There's not a soul on this earth that is going to tell me anything different of what I see in my, visualizations. Now I'm in a place and space of the vision is the vision. The goal is the goal. How I get there is not set in stone. The car may change on how I get there. Right now it's real estate, it may change down the line, but the goal is the goal. And in me realizing that, it's helped because when little stuff happens, I'm like, child, the goal is the goal. That's not changing.
The top 3 responses that I get when I ask, why do you want to leave corporate America, are that you want financial freedom, you want to own your own time, and you want to build a legacy for this generation and generations to come. Now, this is not a solo job. In order to transition from your 9-to-5 into entrepreneurship, it's going to take community and it's going to take resources. And I've created the community of pioneers who are going to wrap around you and help you make that transition successfully. So if you're interested in leaving your job, go ahead and click that information below. Let's get into the community and let's transition from your 9-to-5 into entrepreneurship successfully. Now let's get back to the episode. Welcome to another episode of the Work and Play podcast. I'm your host, Ariel Young, and I have my friend, my home dog, home girl, road dog, all of that mixing together.
Right.
Ashley Driessen.
Yeah.
I gotta get that.
Well, it's German, and it's the correct way is actually Driessen. But can't nobody. So we just gonna say Driessen.
We're gonna say it now. I'm thinking Scheisse.
Right. I gotta put that. Yeah, but no, we just say Driessen. We're good.
Driessen, how are you doing, love?
I am so happy to be here.
I'm happy for you to be here.
Yeah, when you asked me, I was like, what? You want to talk to me?
Yes. I've been able to see you grow from the jump, and before we both took the leap, we had that whole conversation. Like, it was kind of like, together. And I've been watching you literally blow up and blossom, become the woman you are becoming. It's amazing. So we don't even have a whole topic, but I noticed it's gonna
just gonna chat it out.
And so without further ado, would you like to introduce yourself to the folks?
Yeah, so I'm Ashley Driessen. I'm a Cali native. I have a hard time talking about myself, but anyway, so I am.
Don't we all though?
I know. I'll be like, what y'all want to know? No, but I am a realtor here in Atlanta. I have been for the past 3 years. I met Ari in college, and since then we've kind of kept in contact with each other, but we've really kind of been like an iron sharpened iron and being that support for each other. I also had a stint in corporate, kind of go through different industries and stuff like that, and I've landed in real estate. And for the last year, I've been doing it full time, and things have been going really well.
Things have been looking fire too.
Yeah.
Tell us about the real estate game. Everybody wants to get into real estate, but they don't really know what it really is about.
Yes. So real estate it's a dog eat dog industry, honestly. A lot of times people just jump into it and they're like, they see the money, they see the HGTV, they see, you just take them to see the house and that's it. It is so much more. And I think what people don't realize too is it's one thing to get your license, but they don't teach you how to be a realtor in school, So some of the things that I've learned was you have to have that drive within yourself. A lot of it, I had to become a different person in order to even navigate and balance being an entrepreneur in the real estate game. It's so much different from corporate. You're not clocking in at 9 and leaving at 5. I'm showing houses up to 7:30 at night, Schedule can be all over the place sometimes. You're dealing with different people, so there's different facets that you have to grow within in order to balance that. So it's not an easy industry.
Right.
It's not. Actually, there's a statistic that upwards of 85% of people that start in real estate quit within the first year because they don't realize just how intense this industry is. A lot of times, it's important to have a mentor. It's important to figure out what brokers you're going to sign up with. Do they have mentorship programs? Are they going to be able to help you grow your business and become that person that you want to be? So there's a lot that goes into it, and it's not, it's not to be taken lightly.
Wow. Where would you say you are in terms of like understanding the landscape, knowing what you have to learn, and then, you know, whatever else you also have to learn? Like, where would you say you are in the journey of becoming a realtor, or the realtor you want to be?
Well, being 3 years in the game, really this past year of like just doing it full time, I've learned so much, but I'm still green. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never know. I try to approach it with an open mind. And try to learn as much as I can from even the other realtor on the other side of that transaction, from other realtors who've been in the game for so long. I mean, I've been in transactions with people who've been in the game 30, 40, 45 years. And it's like, that can be intimidating. And to that, you know, I'm still learning, still growing. I'm always in a place and space of, even 5-7 years from now, I still want to be in a place of learning and growing. Yeah. You know, the learning never stops. And to me, that's what's so fun. I get bored easy. Yeah.
Need something to shake it up a bit. Yeah. I love it. So tell me this, when you think about, I was watching a YouTube clip, and they were talking about, you know, corporate Americans, they want to just jump into real estate because they think that's going to be what's going to get them to quit their job. Yeah. But what they really should be doing is investing in self.
Absolutely.
What would you say is like that one thing people go ahead, I hear it. Tell us, sis, because I hear it.
So my transition into real estate is a little unique. I leaped off the cliff. I leaped. I'm a very spiritual person, and it was just the right time, you know? So I jumped. And by the grace of God, you know, I've been able to withstand trials and tribulations and grow and have income come in to where we're not like homeless on the street, you know? Mm-hmm. But there is a place and space to where you have to grow and evolve and become a different person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've learned so much about myself within this last year. And a lot of that had to do with self-awareness, self-development, trying to learn how I tick and why I do the things that I do. Mm-hmm. There is a growth that comes with it. And I don't think it's just real estate. I think it's entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Period.
I would agree.
Like, you cannot expect the riches and the glitz and glamour of things if you're not willing to become that person to receive that. Yeah. Like, the old Ashley was not going to receive all that I desire. I had to change, and I'm still changing. I'm still figuring stuff out. By no means do I have it figured out. Make that clear. But, you know, there is a growth aspect to that. And you only stifle yourself if you're not open to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love it. Oh, we're going to get, I was just doing a live this morning talking about how green I was before I became an entrepreneur, the experience that really showed me who I was, that self-development piece. And then you mentioned mentorship. What was it like for you finding a mentor? Like, did you do the research I'm sure you did a little bit of research after you went into entrepreneurship? Yes. And then, like, how was your experience finding your first mentor? Did it take you a couple trials?
It did. It took a couple of tries. And something that I learned early on, a false narrative that I had to kind of get over, is when finding a mentor, you have to be ready to put in the work. You know what I'm saying? You're asking somebody to give a portion of their time to help you develop and to help you grow into this person. So you have to come with your A game. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, I was not doing that. You know, you can't expect your mentor to call you. Be like, hey, are you up? Are you doing this? Are you doing X, Y, Z? You know, to me, mentorship is, I'm going to be out here doing all that I can necessary, but I have you to help guide me so I don't make a lot of the mistakes that you made. Mm-hmm. And I think the caveat to that is just trying to find somebody willing and open to do that in the way that works for you. Yeah. You know, mentorship is not a monolith. It's not the same across the board. Mm-hmm. It changes on the person, the work ethic, where you are in your growth stage, you know. So it took a while. It really did. And honestly, for every change and transition, I've had a different mentor. And that's okay too. It's okay to change mentors. You don't have to have that one that sticks with you from the beginning all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Because certain people serve for a different time of your life. They may not be equipped to handle that person that you're coming into. So it's okay to try to go out and find somebody else.
Now you say you became a different person, and I believe you because I know, you know, I know when I know what growth feels like, and I also have seen your come up. Yeah. But when we were in college together, you've always been like just so, you know, grounded feeling, you know, wise. You wanted to be in fashion. So I'm thinking like, what would you say? Well, first, let's go back to college. You wanted to be in fashion.
Did.
Tell me about that girl.
Yeah. Honestly, it wasn't a thing of, so kind of let me back up. We'll back up to before college.
Yeah.
I was just happy to be there in college. You know what I'm saying? Being the first college grad in my immediate family, you know, I was just happy to be there. I'm going to what? This UGA? Like I'm at a university? Like I felt like I was doing some things. And when it came to declaring like my major and stuff like that, before that I wanted to go into pre-med, right? I saw that organic chemistry book. I was like, I'm not doing that.
That's the turning point.
I barely passed chemistry. Let's not even go do that to myself. But I've always, another side to me, I'm a very creative person. And I felt that it was either going to be music or fashion that I would go into. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna go into fashion because I feel like, you know, I can be creative, I can express myself and blah, 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 blah. And it was cool. It was great. It all worked out. But I think a transition for me and what kind of pulled me away from that is, you know, I got pregnant in college, you know, and that's when real life kicked in. It's like, you're not going to be able to, it was like manage fashion, be a good mom for your kid. Okay. You know, that's where I was. Yeah. Because I also, you know, had to live life, you know, just kind of my background coming from a single parent household, you know, I'm still having to fend for myself as well as figure myself out. Now I got this baby on top of this. Yeah. Fashion's kind of like
furthest thing from your mind.
Yeah, the furthest thing from my mind. So it was fun while it lasted, you know.
Because you were like, I remember you coming back from classes, and I feel like you would have like boards or like pieces. And what was your plan? Was it the business side of fashion, or did you want to become like the next Vera Wang? What was the vision?
It wasn't necessarily that. It was kind of a hybrid. You know, I really used the creation pieces of it and really kept it to myself. We'll talk about that vulnerability in a minute. But I had that creative side to me, but then I also was like, the business side to me was almost like a scapegoat. It was kind of like, well, I'm still in the industry, I'm still doing it, but I wasn't doing what I felt was really speaking to who I was, which was the actual design side of things.
Really?
Yeah.
You were going to be out here like literally designing pieces.
Yeah. I wanted to design, but then I also was like down the road of like styling and being a stylist. For a short time when I was at UGA, I actually interned under Alori Swank. And she's like a big, you know, stylist, celebrities and stuff like that. Like that's what I really wanted to do. So it was the creation part, but it was also styling, and then down the road I wanted to have my own line, and like there was like a whole plan behind it.
When you say vulnerability, I'm assuming you didn't want people to see your creativity. Tell me about that.
So I think it just comes from, I'm not going to use the term trauma because there was nothing traumatic behind it, but I think just different instances that kind of stuck that caused me to kind of build this wall up around my creativity, that it was just like, it was more comfortable for me not to put myself in a place to be picked apart. Yeah. And that was, I mean, I still battle with that till this day. Like, I'm still struggling with that. And I think it falls over. I'm a little more comfortable when it comes to, business, real estate. That's just talking. I can talk to you. I can get a deal. That's cool. That's great. But when it comes to, for me, my creativity is me being my most vulnerable self. And that requires me to be open. And that requires me to let my guard down and to let people in. And I've struggled with that so much. Like I said, till this day, still.
Yeah.
But, even in me realizing that, I'm working on it. It's a work in progress.
Absolutely. Well, so putting something out there, the way that I see it could possibly manifest is like imperfectionism. Like when we put, even in business, when we put something out there, we're like, okay, well, it's got to be this way, this way, this way, and that way nobody has anything to say about my stuff. Does it manifest like that as an adult?
Yeah, I would say yes. Yeah, it's that level of it has to be just right. It has, because you have this train of thought that if I make it perfect, that minimizes it being criticized. That minimizes it being picked apart.
Right.
That minimizes kind of drawing that negative aspect of it. And I wouldn't say so much rejection. It really is that piece of vulnerability.
And now, but you've created so we haven't even talked about your candle business.
Yeah.
But that, I'm sure, was, so when we talk about like things that we have anxiety about, we talk about exposures, right?
Yeah.
So like putting out your candle business had to be a huge achievement for you. And like being like, you know what, I could put my baby out there.
Yeah.
So was that for you? Like, did you experience that feeling of like, okay, I'm putting a part of my baby out there, but then like, how did you experience people experiencing your baby?
In the beginning, I can't say I even had that initial train of thought of like that panic. You know what I'm saying? It was just something I created. It kind of happened. Like, I was getting into a hobby. I was like, oh, this works. I like it. And there was a lot of candles around the house. And my husband was like, sis, you need to do something with these candles. So I was like, all right, let's make this into a business. And so I did, and it just kind of happened. It kind of snowballed, and people were very receptive to it. People were very open to it. So with that creation, it wasn't really that sense of vulnerability. It was kind of just like, this is cool. It was very receptive. People were open to it. So yeah, with that one, that was just kind of like, it just took off.
I got you. So what you're saying is like, that was light work, sis. There's a lot more in here that y'all just haven't been able to see. You're speaking to me so much. What you're saying is resonating with me because, and I think it resonates with a lot of Black women because we can be so bomb and so boss. You know what I mean? To the point where like, who gonna check me, boo? Right? And then when you think about, when I look at you, I admire you became a mom when
early. I was 20 when I had him.
Girl.
Yeah.
I remember being
like, let's age ourselves. He's about to be 10 this year.
Girl, he's such a little young man.
I know.
Age ourselves, girl. We look good too. I'll take the age. I almost lost my train of thought. It was because, boss women, right? We don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Right? But what happens for a lot of us is it makes us not be able to find love. It makes us it doesn't allow us to connect with people, who understand us as a person. Yeah. And when I look at you, I'm very surprised, like to hear that, but I'm curious, like, what's the personal development behind you actually? There's so much. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Starting with the moment you told me you were having JJ.
Yeah.
Right. Your life starts to shift. Your priorities start to shift.
Yep.
What does your mind tell you in that moment? Like, who do I have to be? Like, what were your priorities? How did you move forward?
In that moment and place and space, and I think it's something that Black women can relate to, I immediately, in a way, my upbringing was in a place and space of survival mode.
Okay.
But having a child, not really having a source of income. I'm still in college. Like, I'm still a kid. Let's keep it frank. I'm still a child myself.
Yeah.
It was more so a place and space of survival mode.
Okay.
You know, I have to become this mom, which I'm naturally nurturing. So it wasn't like, oh my God, I can't party anymore. Like, that wasn't a hard transition for me. But also resonating with the fact of, now I can't fully go after what I want as far as, you know, a fashion career.
Yeah.
Because I know that would take me away from my child, and that was just a non-negotiable for me. That's just something that I wasn't going to do. So really, in that place and space, it was a place of survival mode. I just wanted to make ends meet and take care of my child the best way that I could, you know? And what survival mode looks like, I'll paint the picture. You know, it's getting that desk job. That's how I got into corporate, is because I had this place of survival mode, which I think so many people fall into that trap. And you get stuck because you get comfortable. And, you know, I'm being a single mom at the time. Me and his father split ways. So survival mode for me was WIC. It was food stamps. You know, I tried to get on every government plan that I could at that time. And as he got a little older, I wanted to, because it was always eating at me. You know, I've always been a creative person, and it was always eating away at me. It's like, you are not giving your all. You're not being true to yourself. Which we do so often. We set aside who we are, and we allow life to dictate what we do, where we go, how we think, how we operate, how we move. And I didn't want that.
Yeah.
So that is when I started to kind of sit back. And honestly, survival mode is not healthy at all. I developed anxiety. You know, bad anxiety. Like, I would just wake up and just go into a full-fledged panic attack because I'm just like, I'm trying to do the best that I can. And I was sick of it. I was like, I can't do this anymore. This isn't healthy. And just, you know, seeing the ramifications of survival mode on my mom, you know, over time, she developed epilepsy from all the stress and stuff like that. And I was like, the buck stops with me.
Yeah.
It stops here.
Okay.
And that is when I started really, I guess you can say that's when I started my intimate spiritual journey, and the self-awareness, and kind of unlearning the survival mode and shifting into my power, which I'm still shifting into. Absolutely, that. But I think that was a pivotal moment. I'd say I was probably around 24, 25.
And what sparked your interest in self-development or spirituality, and what was it? Was it meditation, yoga? How'd you find it?
I knew there was something more. I was like, there has to be more to this. You know, like, growing up, I grew up Christian, you know, I still am, that's my foundation, you know, but I was like, there's more to this. There has to be a more intimate level to this. And so I got into the practice of meditation, and I was just like, this is weird. Like, in the beginning, I'm sitting there like, this ain't really working like how I'm thinking it's supposed to, but they call it a practice for a reason. Like,
am I whole yet?
Haven't changed yet? What's going on? You know, but the art of meditation taught me to be present.
Yeah.
And to be in my present space at all times, you know. Anxiety for me welled up from experiences from the past and projecting that onto my future. Like, that happened in the past, that's what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
And it was my introduction into meditations and the whole chakra alignment and system and stuff like that really helped me be more present to be able to evaluate things within myself that I could now work on present day for my future self.
Yeah.
So that's when it all started changing. On top of, you know, I it all started, I went on like a fast.
Yeah.
I'm real big on fasts.
Were you always big on fast, or like was this the first moment you started becoming big on fast?
In the way that I became big on fasting was during that transition phase. Prior to, we would have our church fast, Thursday, a couple hours and stuff. But now it was personal.
Okay.
It wasn't just, I'm doing it because my church is doing it.
Got it.
It was real personal for me.
So you had a grounding in like in Christianity, and you knew there was more. You wanted to have a deeper and more intimate connection. So that's what sparked it. Was there anyone who said, "Hey, girl, listen to this meditation"? You just kind of researched it on your own?
I just researched it on my own. Nice. And when I started that, it was a thing of like, God, lead me to where I need to. Bring to me the people that will help me on this journey and help me transition. And that's when I found it's this guy named Bob Proctor.
Oh, yeah. I am a magnet to money. I love that song.
And there's other people like Joe Dispenza, and listening to them as well as my meditations, that's when I started to grow even more and realize it's a mindset.
Yeah.
You have to change your mind to change your outside reality.
Yeah.
And I think once that clicked for me and once I really started working, that's when I was just like, oh, all bets are off.
Look, you can't hold me back. What was JJ's experience of you, right? Like you mentioned you had anxiety, and he's 10 now, but kids know very early what's going on with mom, right? So what would you say that transition was for him to see mom becoming more of like, what's this meditating thing my mom was doing? Like, what was it?
He was open, and actually he would join me sometimes, and he would be like, he'd sit and be like, what you doing? I'd be like, meditating. And he's like, okay, because I'll have like the music in the background playing. And it's so funny, he was probably about like 5 or 6 at the time, and he's just sitting there in his drawers. Sitting there, he sat there, he's like trying to meditate and stuff. But I think even in that transition and him seeing me go through that has helped almost like break a cycle, because now he's he knows how the art of prayer, he knows how to meditate and kind of manage as he gets older. So I think that was really important for him to witness me do that, so he can kind of take those nuggets.
Thank you so much for watching the Work and Play podcast. This episode is sponsored by the Boss Up Conference, which is a community for entrepreneurs, CEOs, celebrities, and corporate executives to come together, network, and solve some problems. Thank y'all so much for being supporters of the Work and Play podcast. And thank you for watching the Work and Play podcast and all the episodes before. Now let's get back to the episode.
And honestly, in that, I think he's very aware of people's emotions. Like he's always like, Mom, you okay? Mommy, you okay? Are you good? Like it'll just be random. He'll come, you all right? You good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm great. Even if I try to hide, if I'm stressed about something that's going on, even if I try to hide it, he'd be like, you all right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you look a little stressed. Like,
he knows.
But he knows.
Yeah.
And he's very sensitive to, he can feel the energy in a room. You know what I'm saying? So really just, I think me being open to meditations and opening to that has helped me cultivate that within him, which is very rare for a young black boy, to be so in tune with their emotions.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Thank God.
I see there's sometimes where he tries to hold stuff in or tries not to speak on certain things, but I try to drive that point, like, we're not doing that. Like, you got to be open. You got to tell me how you feel, So what does that look like? We're in a space where, a lot of women are raising their boys to be kids forever. Yeah. So what does it look like for you to see your child in a space where they could go either way? They could go enlightened, or they can go like back and suppress. Yeah. So what does that look like? And then how do you truly like have a conversation to get him out of it? Yeah. So if I see it going kind of whichever way, I of course give him his time. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be like you gonna tell me I'm, beat you down. Like, that's not how we do. I'll give him some time, but I'm like, we're gonna talk about this. Like, so just get your words together, articulate, your emotions and how you're feeling, but we're gonna talk about it. And we'll sit down and we'll talk about it. And, I try very hard not to prompt or lead how he's feeling, but also prepare myself, as he's getting older and dealing with certain things at school and things, making sure that I'm in a place and space of being open and receptive and creating that space for him to feel comfortable enough to talk to me as his mom. I think a lot of times, especially, us as Black people, it's that, we don't create these spaces for our kids. We just don't. And that's something that I wanted to change with him, and to create that space and make sure I'm receptive to whatever is about to come out of his mouth, and make him feel comfortable enough to where we can continue this dialogue. So in the beginning, it was hard because he had a hard time articulating, his emotions, how he's feeling, articulating where he's feeling multiple emotions at once, And so we would just sit there for however long, however long. You have my undivided attention. Let's talk it through. And sometimes it's not always me. Sometimes it's my husband, because he is a young man.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like to be a Black man, so, but we do create that space for him to be able to articulate his emotions and get that out, and then he feels better afterwards.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and it feels wonderful, because he'll just randomly come up to us and be like, "You guys are good parents." Waterworks. Well, thank you, son. I appreciate that.
No, seriously, that is so beautiful. And so let's get another layer in here, because so we are going through a very major transition where you're in corporate. You're starting to learn that you need to reprogram this survival mode. Your baby's starting to use shift. And so where were you at mentally in terms of feeling whole? Had you already met your husband?
Yes.
Okay.
I had met him, and that is another layer, because here we are, two individuals who come from single parent households. We didn't have the married life. We didn't grow up with that. So we really out here trying to figure this thing out. We just don't know. And so that was another shift in transition, because I'm no longer operating in my place in space just for me and still managing JJ. I'm managing my husband's needs, as well. So being a wife, being a mom, on top of this self-awareness, self-growth journey that I'm on, is kind of like a balancing act. How do you balance that? And I'm still figuring it out.
You'd be like, look, let me disclaimer this thing.
I don't have it all figured out. We just do what works for us. But in that is just a lot of communication. I communicate with my husband where I'm at, what I'm feeling. We process that, and we just keep going and keep trying. But that was another layer. It's life is so ever changing.
Were you in a bag, like a business, I'm going to get, because you're still in corporate.
Yeah.
So how would you say you were a go-getter in corporate, or were you still in that comfortable position when it comes to your career? So I would say it was a hybrid. I was comfortable, okay, this is nice. I'm getting a check every 2 weeks, this is good. But every time I would try to unleash that go-getter side of me, that creative side of me, it would hit a wall. Because when you're in a position in corporate, that's your role. You have a ladder, of course there's a ladder and stuff like that, but that's your role. There's only so much you can do. And I found myself hitting ceilings, getting bored. I told you I get bored. So found myself getting bored, and when I would get into those places and spaces, it would feel like I'm boxed in. Yeah. And I hate that feeling. I do not like that feeling of feeling boxed in. So that was hard, because now we're playing the game of double dutch. Do I jump in entrepreneurship now? Do I try to do this now? Or do I kind of just sit back because this is really cushion for my family? We're doing okay now. But it got to a point to where I had to
I knew that if I stayed within that lane of being comfortable and trying to make things work that just weren't working within corporate, I would regret it once I hit like 40, 50, once I got older.
Yeah.
Because we tend to shrink ourselves. We tend to shrink ourselves for the comfortability of others, for the comfortability of our situation, for whatever. And that's what I was doing. I was shrinking myself. I wasn't operating in a place and space to where I could grow fully. And it became challenging, and it kind of became, it was more than challenging, because here you are doing this growth and this development and stuff. So you know what you're doing is not right, but it's still that fear and that hesitation and that level of being vulnerable that is stopping you. So now you're kind of at war within yourself. Like, I know that this isn't right. God has given me all the signs that I need to make that leap. But here I am, just stagnant, just sitting here. So I really had to make that decision. Like, what's up? Are you going to be stagnant, or are you going to leap into the unknown abyss and figure it out?
Yeah.
And it got to a point to where there were some instances within corporate, it didn't matter what job I went to, it was just like not working. Like, whether it just was not working, I couldn't find my groove. So it got to a point that was like, jump. And so I did. And that was the best thing I could have ever done.
I can imagine. Sis.
When, people be like, stop worrying about, well, what if that don't work? Well, what if that don't work? All that is a part of your story. You just need to jump, because whatever comes after that, your story is unique, and it could help somebody else. Like, there are times where I've had in my entrepreneurship journey, I kind of teeter-tottered, like, okay, I need to get a corporate job, because like these bills is behind, like money funny. The ups and downs of entrepreneurship, that, yes, things are going well now, but I went through those ups and downs. And people need to know that it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay to go through that.
What was your role in corporate? Multiple roles.
I was like, I had multiple roles. I had multiple roles. So I started out in a operational place and space. And it's so funny that I'm even in a sales position now, because I was that person like, I'm not getting into sales. I'm never doing that. Like, ugh.
Why would you want to get commission? Commission?
100%? Who wants to do that? Like, no.
What's my base?
Right. I was like, I would never do that. And then, you hear the horror stories, and because sales is, no matter what industry, it can be a dog eat dog world, But I was in the operations, and I worked my way into management roles and had, a team under me and stuff like that. And then I hit a ceiling there. And so I was like, well, time to shift. So then I shifted into the tech space, which, I felt was a good move to have that experience, because tech is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. I was still on the operational side on there, but with that, I was realizing, like, you're not hitting the financial goals that you want. So then that's when it's kind of like, well, maybe sales does work. Like, maybe I will go into sales.
Okay.
And honestly, going into sales was the best thing that I could do, because it got me uncomfortable. It got me to a point to where you're uncomfortable, and you're forced to figure out how to make it work. And you're forced to learn certain things, and you're forced how to deal with objections, and you're forced to deal with negotiations and, different people and personalities. So
what were you selling?
SaaS software.
Oh,
software
okay, got you.
Yeah.
To like B2B?
B2B.
Okay. And
so dealing with like CEOs, CFOs, CISOs, and like the C-suite.
Yeah.
So different personalities.
Yeah.
All night. So that was very interesting for me.
Nice. Okay, we gotta go here.
Okay.
So, because when I was on my way out, I said, okay, what are the skill sets that I need to develop? And I literally was going to leave my job and go into like selling vector. I was like, I feel like that's the only skill set that I don't have that's going to literally keep me successful. Now, I talked to a homeboy. He was like, why would you do that? So I didn't end up taking the sales job.
Yeah.
But I do believe that, and actually sales is one of those high value skill sets
Absolutely.
that will take you through life. So, you know, full circle, I came around to sales in a different way, which I don't even feel like I sell. I just feel like I pretty much just have a conversation with my clients and they decide they want to come on. But I got to get into your development as a set. Like, one, there's the intimidation of talking to like the C-suite, which can be intimidating whether you like corporate or not. They are successful people, and
these are people running like Fortune 500 companies.
Yes,
like, they know their stuff.
And then you had to learn it. So you tell me about the process. You one had to learn the product. Two had to learn like a sales script.
Yes.
And then so tell us what are the main steps that you hurdled to get to be good at that?
Yeah. So, oh man.
Tell me, I need it all.
Because I did not, remember I went to school for fashion. I ain't had no dang tech background. Like, I don't know what that is. So it was shifting that mindset from creative to analytical, because you're having to learn this software, learn the ins and outs of it, and then learn it so well to be able to articulate that to someone in C-suite, and then deal with any rebuttals or negotiations or objections that come with that. So that within itself was like, girl, what are you doing? And it was, like, I was way in over my head. And you know, there were scripts and stuff, but I mean, even to this day, and I know there's people who probably slap me on the hand, I don't use scripts. Like, I practiced enough to where I was comfortable delivering it the way that Ashley delivers it. And to me, that was a value to learn while I was in corporate, because now in real estate, I'm myself 110%, and that translated very well, you know, selling these high price and home values. You know, buying a home is one of the biggest steps that somebody can make. Yeah. So it was those rejections, and it was those hang-ups. It was those, I mean, I'd have been cussed out.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
What was that for? What?
My first position, it was like a hunter position. So you're like cold calling these people, right? Imagine little old me not knowing anything that's going on, and I'm cold calling into a C-suite.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the respect. It's like, come to me with some respect.
It comes to me like, what, they're so short on time.
Okay. And you're like, hi, I want to tell.
Yeah.
And you didn't have a hook.
I didn't have that hook.
How'd you learn how to develop a hook?
I started working with my sales managers. I started listening to other people's calls and trying to see what they did, and then make it my own. And after time, you know, we rolling. We good.
Can you tell me what your hook is, or what your hook was?
Oh God, that was a while ago.
I'm extremely passionate about helping corporate professionals transition into entrepreneurship. So I had to share the number one thing that helped me develop as an entrepreneur, and that's the morning meetup. I joined the morning meetup specifically for the structure, because I'm leaving corporate America, so I'm used to those morning huddles. We got our sales, we know what our goals are, and we get our day started. So I was missing that for 2 years before I even found the morning meetup. Now, the second thing that I really, really benefited from was the revenue generating activities was not necessarily a thing before 2021. Now, I had my LLC, I had my website, I had a few clients here and there, but the momentum really took off as soon as I got around like-minded individuals and people who really knew the struggles that I was already dealing with, that I could get over my fear of sales and communicating my value and putting myself out there on social media. The friends that I've developed, the mentors and the mentees that I've created relationships with, everything has really created this environment for us to thrive as entrepreneurs. So if you want to develop as an entrepreneur, you're leaving corporate America and you're trying to figure out, how do I get my footing in entrepreneurship, then the morning meetup will definitely be a game changer for you. You can learn with us, you can grow with us. And I didn't even mention that we have a book club. Join us in the community. Let's get started today. You will not regret it.
It would depend. It would be based on, a lot of it was based on the company budget and what I got really good at knowing what these people needed. I got really good at knowing the holes that were missing, whether in their process or if they didn't have the employees. So prime example, if it was a cybersecurity software that I was selling, right? Prime example, a lot of what people dealt with was not having the manpower with the knowledge needed to be able to protect their networks. You know what I'm saying? So I would do stuff like look at LinkedIn, or, kind of be sneaky and look to see if that, who's all in their department. And if I see somebody left of great caliber, I call and be like, hey, this is just checking in on you. Saw some things changed within your organization and stuff. How has that affected, your projects and things coming down the pipeline? And it's almost there like, well, I'm really shocked that you're calling, like, because this has changed X, Y, Z. And it was knowing and doing my research and knowing what the absolute need was, what's helped open that door.
That is bingo. That you just literally, that's the sauce right there. I'll tell you this. So when people go into business, their issue is deciding who their avatar is.
Yes.
Right? You guys have an avatar in real estate as well? Or is it like with content creation?
It would be more so like with the content.
Yeah. Okay, got you. So in entrepreneurship, when you're building your business, one thing that you just said is understand your client's problem more than they do. But then the strategy behind getting to understand their problem, I'm thinking of conversations where I'm like, go on LinkedIn and understand. I have a client who wants Issa Rae as a client.
Oh yes,
right.
I love Issa. Shout out to you, girl. If you gonna see this, shout out to you.
Right, look, you are. And I'm trying to tell you, if they wanted to meet you, Issa, if she really wanted to do some good work for Issa,
yeah,
you have to understand what Issa's pain point is.
Absolutely.
And then you have to understand, like, what are the people around her like? What do they need? And then you have to get to know what they need really, really well.
Yep.
Like, you're not going to reach out to Issa specifically about, hey, I have this whatever $20 product, whatever it is.
Correct.
You're going
Issa's busy.
Thank you.
Issa ain't trying to hear that.
Girl.
How's the weather?
Thank you. So you just gave us a really good strategy of one, understanding their problem.
Yeah.
And then speaking from it, not from like, hey, your problem is,
Absolutely.
but empathizing with the fact that this is what's keeping the C-suite person up at night.
Absolutely. And you exploit the hell out of that pain point. And it would be to a point, it's like, well, asking the right questions too. How is that affecting your day to day? How is that affecting your projects? How is that affecting, what does that look like for you if you don't get this rectified? And a lot of times it's like they're the top dog. So it's like it falls back on their plate. So once you really exploit their pain points, you're good.
That's really good. I love it. So this is only in sales, but when we had our last lunch, it was dinner.
Yeah.
You were in, I want to say, it wasn't sales, was it? I want to say.
What year was this?
Girl,
was it like
a while ago? Was it 2017 or 16? It was. I think it had to be 17.
So I was still in like an operational.
You were still in operational. Okay, so you hadn't moved to sales yet. Because I remember we were talking about you leaving, but then it was a bit of a lag, maybe.
Yes. So let me back up. So 2017, I actually started. Actually, no, I was in sales. I was in sales in 2017, and then because that is when I kind of came to another crossroads, like, all right, this is cool, this is great, but I'm still not getting, I just feel like my purpose is still not being fulfilled.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so that is when 2017, because that's, hold on, 2021. Yes. I got married in 2017. And
I remember.
Yeah. I was just do some math. I got married in 2017, and that is when I was just kind of like, there has to be something more. And so, I don't know, I went back into my prayer and my present time, and that's when a lot of people were telling me about real estate, but I was kind of like, yeah. And even my mom, like years ago, was like, just do real estate. Do real estate. And I'm like, nah. That was when I wasn't into sales. That's when I was like, that's sales, that's commissions, that's scary. I'm not doing that. And so 2017 got married, and I was like, there's more. I'm comfortable now in my sales skin. There's more. And so I signed up for a real estate class and was doing that at night. And then 2018, early March of 2018 is when I tested and passed and got my license.
Nice.
So that started the caveat, or that started the opening of me balancing corporate and real estate. Because I still have my corporate job, but I'm wanting so bad to be over here in this industry. And so I'm balancing corporate, a business in real estate, being a mom, being a wife, which I just keep adding stuff. like just juggling. I just keep adding stuff. And even in juggling that, I had to become. I had to grow into a stronger person, learning organization, time management, setting aside time for me, because you can get so lost in all of that. And so I did that I did corporate and real estate for about 2 years.
Okay.
And then the pandemic hit. And I think, like a lot of people, because there's like this mass great resignation.
Absolutely. Yes.
Like a lot of people, I sat and realized what was important to me, and it was not corporate. And it was just like leap. And I want to be crystal clear. It wasn't like, I'm just going to jump today. This was like months of me battling with myself and being like, no, not yet. Like, no.
Mind you, we had this conversation in 2017.
Exactly. Exactly. So we were just talking about it. Like, we were still on the path to the edge of the cliff. Like, okay, we're going to do it. But now here I am, like, I see the cliff and I'm just like that kid shaking. Like, I'm not ready to jump.
Yeah.
But it just was not. I felt like I was dying a slow death because, again, I felt trapped.
Yeah.
And so that's when it was July of last year. I was like, no more. We're not doing this. I sat and talked to my husband, of course, and he's so supportive. Like, he was just like, whatever you decide to do, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, we got this. We'll figure it out. And I think that too helped in me being able to jump because it was so frictionless within my household.
Yeah.
He saw how it was so draining for me.
Yeah.
Being in corporate. So he was like, whatever, let's do it. So I did. I left and jumped into real estate full time. And God is good, because I didn't even tell people I had left corporate. And then I had friends calling, hey, I think I'm ready to buy a house. I'm ready to do this. My godfather moved from California here. He called me, hey, let's go find a house in Georgia. So it's starting to pick up, and I'm just like, wow.
Would you say your network from UGA helped with that, or were there just like friends from all over?
No, it was just friends from all over the place. Friends from past jobs, friends from, years ago, family, and it was like once I let my network know, that's when it started blossoming.
Oh my God, I love this. Now, I'm very spiritual as well, and I believe in the leap.
Absolutely.
But when you look back at it in hindsight, I think we do ourselves a disservice by not thinking about what we actually did to prepare ourselves to leave.
Yeah.
So if there's someone, and I totally believe the leap it still feels like a leap for some people, even if you've been preparing.
Absolutely.
But in hindsight, when you think about your journey, and this is specifically for a married woman, who may or may not feel like she has the support, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Also has a child, is in corporate, she's good at what she does, but she feels like there's more. So there's all of that. But when you look back, hindsight in your story, what did you really do? What do you think you did that set yourself up for success?
I focused a lot on what I wanted my future to look like. Not just from a business standpoint, but like my life, my family life.
Yeah.
I looked at it from a perspective of the effects it would have on my child, you know? And it got to a point to where I wanted to be that in-house example for my son to do what you feel is the best thing for you. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, evaluate your relationships and evaluate how it affects other people. But at the end of the day, you have to do what is best for you, because this is your journey. If you're married, I get that. But that you have to still honor yourself. I think we do a disservice to ourselves because we don't honor who we are at the expense of other relationships. And that's what I was doing for so long. So, and sitting down and evaluating that and over communicating with people, you know, my husband in particular, and just kind of wanting to be that example for my son, and knowing that I have to make this leap in order to create the life that I want for us to have down the road. I think that was the ultimate just overall evaluation that got me to a point of like, yeah, this is it.
I love it. I love it. That's the best. I mean, it's your answer, but it's really the best answer. It's like, you know, visualization is so powerful.
Oh man. And honestly, that has helped me in such a way, because I used to be the person that would trip on the smallest things. Like the smallest thing has shifted my day, child, just throwing it off.
Take me now.
Right. Why me? But having such a visualization and sticking to it, like there's not a soul on this earth that is going to tell me anything different of what I see in my, visualizations. Now I'm in a place and space of the vision is the vision. The goal is the goal. How I get there is not set in stone. The car may change on how I get there. Right now it's real estate, you know? It may change down the line, but the goal is the goal. And in me realizing that, it's helped, because when little stuff happens, I'm like, child, the goal is the goal. That's not changing.
Hey y'all, let me tell you about my friends at Run the World Clothing. Run the World is a community empowerment brand that chooses to educate on Black history, Black culture, and Black radical thought through apparel and experiences. Run the World is a vessel to celebrate the Black experience for Black people and our allies. And I have on one of their latest pieces from this season's collection. So if you haven't seen Run the World Vic's episode on the Work and Play podcast, go check it out, or go to their website to check out some of their apparel. Now let's get back to the episode.
So that has helped me even be more present and not sweat the small stuff, because the small stuff is the small stuff.
Yeah.
That's going to go to the side, you know? But if you get a picture of where you want your life to go, pick an initial vehicle, whether it's corporate, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's the stock market, whatever, pick a vehicle, stick with that, start your journey, start it. And know that it's okay to switch that vehicle if you need to get to that goal. It's okay to pivot.
Yeah, it's okay to pivot.
Yeah.
So, but, not even but. Let's strike the but from the conversation. I wanted to go to you leaving your job.
Yes.
And, you get an influx of people who are interested in homes.
Yeah.
And things start to uptick, right? So what does the journey look like after you leave? Would you say you had that experience where just sales went up and you just kind of been leveled up here, or was it ups and downs?
No, it was ups and downs. And it took the preparation. That's why it's so key to prepare yourself from a mental state before you make this jump, because I did and do have ups and downs. Success in real estate is not linear. I did have those ups and downs, but it was that work prior to that, and understanding, save your money, put money to the side, having that knowledge and just kind of having that goal, it helped me get through the valleys.
Yeah.
It wasn't always a peak. Yeah, and that I would be doing a disservice to say, because you get on YouTube and people, well, I'm a 6-figure earner in a year and I did this and this, that. That may not be your journey, and you need to know that that's okay. Your journey is your journey is your journey, and your journey is needed so that you can share your journey with somebody who's going to go through the same exact things you are. Everybody's not going to be a 6-figure earner, a millionaire in a year's time.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of visualization, what's like a bomb day look like for you? Because you manifested this already.
No. So for me, my ultimate goal, I'd say part of it, I'm not going to reveal my whole goal, but part 2. I am striving for time freedom and financial freedom. So for me, like I have like almost unrealistic goals.
Be unrealistic, baby.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, good.
Like,
okay.
They're very big.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yes. And they're not changing. It is what it is. I know within my heart that it's going to happen. But to answer your question, sorry.
I was going there though.
To answer your question, a bomb day is honestly me just flowing. Not worried about work, like not worried about, I heard something and it resonated so well with me. I don't dream of labor.
I don't dream of labor, darling. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So for me, that day looks like me just flowing and doing what I want to do. Yeah. My family being well taken care of. We're all physically, mentally, emotionally sound. We're operating and doing the things that we want to do and making just a legacy for ourselves. And I'm excited. I'm gonna call you.
I can't wait. Look, we still got some stuff to come to fruition. I have not forgot.
I know.
Does it feel like work to work with clients still? Because I know you say you're 110% yourself. Yeah. When you're doing like client showings and stuff like that. But sometimes do they feel like some feel like work and then some don't feel like work? Or
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Regardless, in those times, I'm still myself. Like that's a non-negotiable in my business. I am who I am. That's just what it's gonna be, you know? Of course, you have to make different adjustments depending on the client, you know? Prime example, in real estate, you'll have a client that's a first-time homeowner to where you may have to do a little bit more hand-holding along the way. And then you have those clients who think they know your job better than you do, you know? And you have to learn and know how to navigate that. So sometimes, yeah, it does feel like extra work. And I do have my days where I'm just like, girl, why did you get into this? Why did you do this?
Who are the ones that make you like, yes, I'm so glad I did this?
Oh man, I thrive. Like prime example, I had a recent client that this was her first time buying a house, and she never owned a home before. She had 3 kids, and we went through the process. She was so scared. It started out to where she had a limiting belief that she couldn't purchase a home, and we had a conversation, and I kind of laid it out for her. XYZ kind of laid the plan out, and I was just like, it's up to you. Is this something you want to do? And we did it, and it was funny. Every step of the way, she's just like, I'm just waiting for something to go left. Like she was anticipating something to go wrong. And we got to the closing table and that girl boo-hoo cried. And it was those moments, because I felt like it was more than a real estate transaction. I felt like I was a part of her realizing that you can't limit yourself. Anything is possible. Yeah. Anything can happen. And she was in a place and space of where she could purchase a home, but she still thought that she couldn't based on misinformation, based on other people. So it's those moments where I can inform and enlighten my clients, as well as make a big impact for them in that space.
Ooh, I love it. Have you read the book Who Not How?
No, I haven't. Okay.
You were talking about your vision and you were saying like how big it is. And you're working on time freedom and it was time freedom
and financial freedom. Yeah.
And when it comes to who not how, it's actually, that's a big vulnerable topic for me, because I feel like nobody can. This is my limiting belief.
Okay.
When I feel like no one can do it better than me, that's me telling myself I don't need to find a who. Because I'm the who, right?
Okay.
I'm doing all the hows in my vision. I'm doing all the hows in my business, right? So I'm going
with this.
My question is, do you have a team already? And then if you don't, or if you do, who is the team that you're envisioning supporting you in reaching this level of freedom that you desire?
Oh, that's good. So in me establishing the big goal, I realized that in my daily walk, I had to kind of make those certain nuanced changes. And it's so easy. I deal with that too. It's like, well, I just know, move, get out the way. I could do it. Like so many of us do. I got it. I could figure it out. I just do it. And really just working with myself on, like, first of all, you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to run yourself ragged. You have to allow other people to help you. So what that looks like for me is I now work with a transaction coordinator who handles all my paperwork. If there's a showing that I can't make, I'll, pay somebody else to go and do it. Really, I'm trying to get to the point right now in my business where I'm just getting clients and attending closings. Everything in between is being handled by somebody else. And that within itself has been such a help. And I remember even in hiring my transaction coordinator, there will be some times where I'll be like, okay, this is kind of pressed for time. I'm kind of, where is it? I'm waiting for, some signatures. And it's like, you have to constantly coach yourself. You hired her for a reason. Let her do it. And that's it. Just let her do it. Let her do her job. And she always came through. Like, she was phenomenal. Like, I didn't have a doubt that she could do it, but it was the thing of she wasn't doing it in my time, And I think that's something that you have to constantly battle with and work on yourself and flush that out your system. Let people help you.
Yeah.
You have to let people help you.
You have to. So what other who's are you looking for?
So I'm still trying to decide. I'm still trying to figure that part out. Do I still want to be an individual agent? Do I want to build a team? Do I want to, because I'm working on getting my broker's license. So do I want to, and even with that comes a whole bunch of questions. Like, do I want to start my own brokerage? Do I want to be an associate broker with the real, my current brokerage? I've realized that I love this place of learning and development. So when I become a broker, do I want to shift into that and be that training aspect for new agents? Like, I'm still kind of figuring that out.
Yeah. Well, the best part about it is you just gave like 6 questions that if you sit with it long enough, you'll have the answer.
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
Yep. But the thing about it is, so many of us don't ask the questions.
Yeah.
And then so many of us don't sit down.
Because I think that goes back to our self-awareness.
Boom.
Yeah.
It's really watching you and hearing you speak. It's giving people like the steps to take. And I promise you, some people, as soon as you say, what helped you transition? You're like, I thought about my vision. Where do I want to be? Mindset. I promise you, hearing you say that, it's like 80% of the transition is your mindset.
Absolutely. And I think that is something, because when I was transitioning out of corporate into entrepreneurship full time, and you've seen it on social media, where entrepreneurs are making corporate people feel less than because they don't have their own business, or corporate people looking at you like, oh, no, I got my paycheck, like,
right, you fending for yourself over there.
And there's so many entrepreneurs out there just throwing out, look at what I'm doing, you can do it too, come on. But very rarely do I find those who are like, this is how I did, and this is what I had to do and change on a mental level to get here. And that, I think, is a main reason why a lot of entrepreneurs fail, because they fall into the hype of, I can do it, let's go, I got it, not realizing, baby,
Is this what
you gotta grow. Like you are really about to learn about yourself.
Yeah.
If you're even open to that.
When people come to me, it's like, okay, you want to quit your job. Mm-hmm. What type of employee are you?
Right.
Because if you're a terrible employee, we got to get you to a place where either you like your job, you like what you do, you like the people around you.
Yeah.
Because if you take that into entrepreneurship, you're going to be a terrible entrepreneur.
You're going to be looking like you're going to be broke quick.
Because you still got, you haven't even gotten settled there. Mm-hmm. You got to get settled before you make the transition. So that's what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I was thinking another thing, and it's going to help me. Girl, you are helping me. And all of the women out there who desire to be entrepreneurs, mothers, and wives, and do it looking flawlessly.
Oh, thank you, girl.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. You said this earlier, and you said that you didn't like the feeling of being in a role because corporate provides a role, and if you step without that boundary, you do it, but you better do this job right. Yeah. But very often you have to play the role. Mm-hmm. You felt boxed in. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people feel marriage is a box. So I'm curious, where does the self-development go now that you're an entrepreneur? You're free as a bird, but you're also married.
Absolutely. That is a good question. That is a damn good question, Mary. You kind of stumped me there a little bit. Well, self-development now has become very important, and I can say a center of my marriage. You know, my husband is now on his own self-development. You know, and I think one caveat to marriage that people think is just like we're together and that's it. When how I look at marriage and how we look at marriage is we're still two very individual people who have decided to live our lives together and kind of interlock our lives. That does not mean you have to give up or throw away or push to the side who you are in order to appease me. Like we have we have to be ourselves at all times, even when it's uncomfortable, you know? You have to move through that and deal with it. You can't just let it sit and fester. And, you know, we go to therapy. That's another thing. Get a therapist. Even I have a personal therapist. We have our marriage therapist. Like, I am such a proponent for therapy. You have to go to therapy because a lot of times you can't figure it out yourself. And honestly, I'd say that's one of the key things that has helped me get here too. In addition to the meditations and stuff, is going to therapy. Nice. Yeah. Nice.
So you sound like what you're saying is, the structure or even the grounding that a marriage might provide or does provide, you are also finding, you know, that you can grow in your relationship through therapy because you guys are both centered on self-development. And you know, this third thing is a question for me.
Yeah.
You said you've always been a spiritual person. In a marriage, you know, they say all the time you have to be
equally yoked.
Yeah. You know, and then when times get hard, you're not, so to speak, praying to like two different gods or two different values. And so how do you guys stay aligned spiritually?
Well, my foundation is still very much, you know, the Christian based faith or whatever. But even in that, I think it depends on your partner and how receptive and open they are to that. My husband is very receptive and he really goes with the flow. So that has really helped in me being able to become who I am. And I don't take that lightly. I know I am blessed for that because I know there are women out there whose partner are not as receptive because they feel like their needs aren't being met or whatever. But he's very open to certain things. We're very open to with each other. And, you know, we keep our spiritual development at the forefront of our relationship. What that looks like over time, sometimes it may change. Sometimes it may be what we're used to. But I think because we're both very just open and go with the flow people, it just works out.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for being an example. I don't even know you speak with a hint of like responsibility in the way you live your life, because you say things like your story is going to help other people. So those are like little nuggets that tell me that you live your life with a certain level of responsibility or duty so that other people can grow. So thank you for being that example, intentionally and unintentionally. There are lots of us who are watching your story like, yes, sis, tell me more. So as we get up out of here, because I know you got a whole day of stuff to do, I'd like for you to like close us out with a word of wisdom. Yes, because we're all on our journey. Yeah. And you've been through many transitions. So, and you're going to experience even more. Yeah. So you might be ministering to others as you're ministering to yourself as you provide this word of wisdom. But I would love for you to help us understand, like, what's the best way to like make this transition and be our best selves?
Oof, Lord, what does that even look like? First, you have to start and get a good grasp on your big picture. I think that is a good starting place, because then once you get a good grasp on your big picture, that then you can then go to the next step of evaluating where you're at in that big picture. And then you can kind of fill in those gaps of who you need to become to get to that big picture. So start with that big picture and be open, be receptive to the changes and transitions. And above all, give yourself grace. It's not an overnight thing. It's not something that is just gonna happen. It takes time. You're gonna fall back into old patterns. You're gonna fall back into old ways of thinking. You're gonna be frustrated. You're gonna experience those valleys. But if, again, keep your eyes on the big picture, and that'll help you grant yourself grace as you continue to transition and transform into who you need to be.
Hey guys, it's Ariel from the Work and Play podcast. If you're getting any value from this channel, and I mean anything from the tutorials to the podcast to the random videos that you see on this channel, then I just ask that you do one thing. Please subscribe. Subscribe and share this to anyone that you think this resonates with, and drop a comment below so I know what other things that you want to see next. Now let's get back to the episode. I couldn't have said it better myself, sis. Listen, as I'm thinking about your story, I think there are people who are going to want to be connected with you just either to watch your story. Our old homies from UGA might want to reconnect with you. And also even your clients, your potential clients, because what you've explained is a transformation in itself when people go from non-homeowner to homeowner. Right. Or, you know, serial home buyer to like working with you. Yeah. You know, like the experience that you provide sounds like you bring all of this into the home buying. So if there's someone out there who's resonating with your story, how can they get connected with you?
Absolutely. So honestly, my Instagram is a wealth of knowledge. You can find me at Ash in the City ATL. Again, that's Ash in the City ATL. Again, it's a wealth of knowledge. You can, DM me if you have questions. I do give out free consultations. Yeah, that's really the best way. You can reach me email ashley.driessen@evrealestate.com. My website, ashleydriessen.evrealestate.com. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, all of that is going to be in the bio below in the description, whether you're listening or you're watching. So once and for all, I want to thank you guys for watching and for listening to this episode. I have really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you for first, and let me say before you sign out completely, I am so proud of you because the conversation we had in 2017 to now, just you doing it. Like,
look, I think I can.
And it is such a beautiful blessing to even witness, to see, to even, to know that we even had a conversation and to see you kind of catapult from that conversation is like, it's a beautiful sight to see. So I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
And I'm just excited to continue witnessing your growth.
Likewise, sis. Thank you for joining me.
Of course.
Thank y'all again.
Thank you guys.
Peace out.
Bye.